Welcome everyone to this session. My name is Maria Soledad. You can call me Sole. And I will be your facilitator today, together with my colleagues from the UNDP FACS, Food and Agriculture Commodity Systems team. And I will be introducing them shortly. Please, as we wait for other people to join, if you can add to your Zoom name your organization and location, so that we know where you're joining us from. That would be great. And we are recording this session for the purposes of reference and for other people that might not be able to join us today to have access to what we're going to cover. So thank you everyone for joining. I can see that we have more people coming in. And it's wonderful to have you all here today. We see some familiar faces. Hi, Lawrence. Fantastic to have you joining us again. And actually, it's wonderful to have you here because you've joined us in the first edition of the problem solving workshop. So I will invite you to share your experiences if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. In the situation that you need me to share on anything, I'm available. I'm here.
Fantastic, Lawrence. Thank you very much. And it's wonderful to have you. Lawrence was part of our first cohort of this problem-solving workshops. So it's wonderful to have someone that can share firsthand experience today with you all. And so we're going to get, yes, did someone want to say anything? I heard a voice. No? So we're going to head to start right on. We have 1 hour today, which, as you know, goes by quickly. So if you can introduce yourselves in the chat, that would be fantastic. As I said, who you are, where you are from, which organization, what role or position you have, and also if you can change your Zoom name to add your organization and location as well as your name, that would be fantastic so that we can know where we're from. We have a number of people here today that have been working relentlessly to get this problem-solving workshops up and running for quite a while, and I will introduce them as we go. But first, thanking Carlota and Alexandra from the community, the Food and Agriculture Commodity Systems community of practice, as well as Philip. They are joining us, supporting this event on a tech support, but also on a broader building community around food and agriculture commodity systems transformation and the work under FOLUR. So if you have any questions around our community of practice or how to join the digital platform, which we really welcome you to do so, because we are building a strong momentum online in that platform, and it's a great way of connecting with people from around the world. Please feel free to leave your message on the chat. And as I said, my name is Soledad, Maria Soledad Riestra. I'm the Training and Learning Advisor for the FACS Food and Agriculture Commodity Systems team at UNDP. And I'm going to walk you through what we call a discovery session on our problem-solving workshops on farmer extension services today. I've got my presentation on the side. So if you see me looking at the side, it's because I'm just checking on the other screen. We also have our amazing expert and consultant Fabian Gamp here. He's been leading the design of this workshop, and he's also one of the founders of Systems Mapping Academy, which is a very strong partner that we have to do work on the ground and capacity building around systems mapping and how to bring systems thinking into action when it comes to the work that we do at different levels, country, regional, and global level. And so yeah, I'll let you, Fabian, also chip in whenever you want, and feel free to raise your hand and jump in to share your thoughts about the design of this workshop. Now, in order to invite you to share some insights, we're hoping to make this session interactive and not just a webinar where we present things. So please, feel free to speak up, raise your hand, interrupt, jump in, keep your video on as much as you can, and so that we can make this relevant to you, to your work, and hopefully start supporting you in this journey that you're probably already embarked on for a long time, on supporting farmers and supporting change in food and ag systems. So we would like to make a quick poll to get a sense of where we're at with our understanding of farmer extension services and proximity to farmer support on our day-to-day basis. So the first question that I wanted to share with you was, how much do you know about farmer extension services? And this is by no means an assessment or a test of your knowledge. It's an anonymous survey. It's just to get a sense of where people are at in terms of their understanding and knowledge of farmer extension services. And so if you can scan the QR code or simply tap on the link that Carlota shared on the chat, or equally type menti.com and use the code on the screen, we will be able to see the results live right now as I share my screen. Wonderful, and we have some results coming in. That's fantastic. We have a very modest audience, but we do have a good level of understanding in terms of knowledge on farmer extension services. We have well, almost 50% saying quite a bit, more than 50%. So yeah, we have 70–80% between a lot and quite a bit, and 8 around not so much. 8 responses, I mean, and no responses around nothing. So yeah, it's a knowledgeable audience, which is great, and we look forward to hearing your experiences and insights as well. Thank you for joining this quick poll, and keep the answers coming if you haven't done so yet. We're going to move now to the second question, which is how often do you work on challenges that involve farming and farmers' support? Do you do it very often? Do you do it fairly regularly? Not so often? Barely? Never? Very often? Fairly regularly? Not so often? And yeah, we can see the bars bouncing up and down. So again, we're going to get a sense of how much you work in this space, and how, in that sense, then today's workshop and the actual problem-solving workshop can be of help to you and to your work. So thank you for sharing. We have, again, the majority saying that they work very often or fairly regularly on challenges that involve farming and farmer support. So that's great to hear. And again, inviting you all, regardless of your level of knowledge or experience, to really share your sense of how this can be of further help to develop your work, your current work under FOLUR, for those that are part of the FOLUR project, but also for our community of practice beyond FOLUR Country Teams. So thank you for sharing your insights. I'm now going to go back to our presentation and basically share a little bit more context around why we're doing this work. Our team, the Food and Agriculture Commodity Systems team, is located under UNDP, and we are focused on food and ag, and we see food and ag intimately and very strongly connected to UNDP's mission. And these are just some numbers that you probably are already very much aware of in terms of the impact of food and agriculture systems on land use, land degradation, climate change. These are just some reminders. Agriculture accounts for 70% of fresh water use, and it's responsible for 80% of global deforestation. So obviously these environmental impacts are significant, to say the least. The drivers linked to food production cause 70% of terrestrial biodiversity loss, and agriculture accounts for 60% of the labor force and producing 25% of the GDP in low-income countries. And over 2/3 of people surviving on less than $1 a day live and work in rural areas, either as smallholder farmers or as agricultural laborers. So this basically means what we're trying to represent here is that food systems are complex, they're intertwined into political, economical, and social systems. They touch upon all of the different aspects of climate change, climate adaptation, mitigation. And so it is really important to look at food and agriculture when it comes to sustainable development. And that's why, amongst many other reasons, we have at UNDP a team that's fully dedicated to working on food and agriculture systems. The other thing that we see and notice in our work is that, you know, more and more as we face climate change and other environmental challenges, many of which are derived from unsustainable agricultural practices, the call to move away from just sustainable practices and shift to regenerative agriculture. So not only to minimize the harm done to the land and to biodiversity, but actually restore its health. We as practitioners working on food and ag systems see how difficult it is to work on bringing this sustainable regenerative practices when the majority of farmers are still struggling to survive. And as the graphic is showing on the screen, of the 1.4 billion people living in poverty, 1 billion live in rural areas where farming is the main source of subsistence. So nearly 1 in 8 people experience chronic hunger, and this is 870 million people worldwide. So sustainability or regeneration of our biodiversity, of our land and soil and environment is intrinsically related and intertwined with support to farming and farmers' livelihoods, social, economic development as well. Given all of this context, the question that raised for us is then how can we think differently about the support that we give to farmers and the challenges that they face so that we can help steer the efforts towards obviously livelihoods, but also regeneration, sustainability and regeneration. And this is what got us to the point of positioning this intervention of how can we help people that are working directly or indirectly into supporting farmers. How can we help this community and these people to think differently and to approach the challenges that they face from a different lenses, a different perspective, to hopefully unblock and bring some innovation into how we approach current solutions and problems. And this is where we're coming from the problem-solving workshops. I'm going to let Lavinia from our team, and sorry, Lavinia, I haven't introduced you yet, so please go ahead and introduce yourself. Lavinia has been co-leading the work of the design of these problem-solving workshops, as well as the delivery of other interventions under effective collaboration for FOLUR. So over to you, Lavi, to share more about the context of the Farmer Extension Services problem-solving workshops under FOLUR.
Thank you, Sol, and hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this session today. My name is Lavinia. I work with the UNDP Food and Agricultural Commodity System team, as Sole and other colleagues that I see online today. I'm based in Panama. I work on program management, and specifically I support the coordination of UNDP for FOLUR that you can see here, that you have heard mentioned from Sole. FOLUR is the Food System Land Use and Restoration Impact Program funded by the Global Environment Fund and led by the World Bank. And FOLUR consists of a global platform that provides support to 27 FOLUR country projects. At UNDP, we support FOLUR as we lead the Wood Growth Partnership. You can see the logo on the top right of this slide, which is one of the partners of the FOLUR Global Platform to support the country projects. And in here, we will talk specifically about the support that we can provide in terms of this problem-solving workshop, that are a virtual workshop to support practitioners from FOLUR Country Project, but also beyond FOLUR, to identify innovative solutions to address challenges that might be affecting the farmer extension services. These problem-solving workshops are designed in a participatory manner, and they aim at promoting creative thinking and co-create solutions to address such challenges. And in this slide, you can read what's the process that we follow to deliver this problem-solving workshop. First of all, we started with a desk research on the FOLUR Country Project documents to identify the challenges that are mentioned in these documents and that are used as a basis for this problem-solving workshop. Then we work with our colleagues from the System Mapping Academy and Fabian, that I saw is online today and that Sole mentioned before, to co-develop a methodology for the problem-solving workshop. Then point C, we facilitate a participatory process with the practitioner that's registered to join the problem-solving workshop to identify among the challenges that are mentioned in the FOLUR Country Project documents, or what came out of the research done under point 8, to identify which are the challenges that are more relevant to the practitioners and to their context. And finally, we deliver the problem-solving workshops that are an opportunity for participants to get new insights and to create new ideas on how to strengthen these farmer extension services and address the challenges. The idea of this problem-solving workshop is indeed to pilot the methodology that we developed with System Mapping Academy, and the methodology can then be replicated in your own countries with your own stakeholders that are involved in the farmer extension services to address whatever challenge is more relevant to your context. And over to you, Sole. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavinia, for that wonderful summary and context around FOLUR and the problem-solving workshops. And we're going to provide a little bit more context on what we mean by problem-solving workshop, how it's been designed, and then we're going to ask some of the previous participants to share their experiences as well, so that you can hear from them. Also invite Fabian, our expert designer, to share his views and thoughts and experience in doing this work, and open the floor for questions and also to hear from you in terms of what are the challenges that you face, and how you might think that a methodology, a guided process to help go through the thinking and the unpacking of these challenges, might help to bring some different lenses and different perspectives into those challenges that you face. So a problem-solving workshop is, in the context of what we're presenting here today, it's a 2.5 hours online workshop format. You might have experienced in the past things like design thinking processes or hackathons, which are very intensive, hands-on sessions, often long in duration. We've now tried to adapt the format so that it's not too long, and kept it to 2.5 hours. Because of the virtual space, and also to give people the chance to do other things during the day. So it's a 2.5 online workshop format that brings together people from FOLUR country teams, but also a global FACS community of practice, so practitioners from all over the world, different set of experiences, to collaboratively create innovative ideas to address challenges related to farmer extension services. Challenges which we have identified and mapped, as Lavinia shared, from 27 countries that are part of the FOLUR program. And you know, this format, because it's very interactive and hands-on, most of the time we spend on groups, working groups, breakout groups, unpacking the challenges through the methodology that I'm going to share in a little while. It not only offers the opportunity to look at the challenges of farmer extension services differently, but also build new relationships and networks, and connect participants from around the world, and strengthen relationships across countries. As Lavinia mentioned as well, the methodology was created in a way that the participants could potentially replicate it, take it as it is, and apply it in their own context and countries as they see fit, in sort of facilitating, again, this process of thinking differently about the challenges. What to expect? The sessions are interactive, they're fun. We bring some inspiration from speakers that share some experiences on a fireside chat kind of mode, so really informal. We have offered different creative methods that you can replicate. There's knowledge exchange. There is this sense of commitment to the challenge as the groups form and you go through the process of unpacking the challenge. This eagerness to try to come up with an innovative solution grows in each of the groups. It's an opportunity for personal learning as well. And it's more about the learning journey and less about the outcomes. We're not looking at coming up with the smartest solutions, but actually going through that process of, as I said before, thinking differently, thinking out of the box. We've been informed in the design of these workshops by farmer extension services experts, by a framework called the Farmer Support Systems Toolkit, that's also part of UNDP FACS team thought leadership and guidance. Methodologies such as the hackathons, design thinking, collaborative innovation, experiential learning. So we kind of put all of that into the pot and the mix to bring this tailored design on food and ag and farmer extension services. Because ultimately, as the quote on the screen shares, we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And this is a very sort of well-known quote, as you're probably familiar with. just to give you a sense, when we talk about farmer extension services challenges and the mapping exercise that we did across 27 countries of the FOLUR program, Lavinia will briefly share a summary of these, but we wanted to put them on the screen, and this is available as well. We'll share this presentation with you after the session. But just to give you a sense of what we mean by this mapping exercise and how it looks like. So yeah, over to you, Lavinia.
Thank you, Sole. So yes, as I was sharing before, we started with a desk research on the FOLUR Country Project documents. So we scanned through the project document to look at the challenges that are mentioned in this document as affecting the extension service challenges in the FOLUR Country Project. And we identify several of them and then map them using this framework that my colleague Sole was referring to before, the UNDP Farmer Support System Toolkit. You can find the link in the chat if interested to learn more about it. And it provides, as you can see in the slide, it provides a framework and 5 main groupings. So on enabling environment, organizational and management capacity, advisory methods, budgeting and financing, and monitoring, evaluation, and learning. And we mapped those challenges that we found in the FOLUR Country Project documents against this framework. And so we identified 13 groups that you can see in this slide, and as mentioned, this will be shared with you later on after the session. Just to mention that as you go through this slide and you read about the different challenges, this is not meant to be a comprehensive research on the challenges that might be affecting extension services in your context or in all countries. This is just a summary of what emerged from what we found in the FOLUR Country Project documents. We are aware that there are many more challenges out there, unfortunately, that are affecting the extension system. And therefore, as I was saying before, this methodology can be used to go beyond these challenges and address those that are most relevant to you. And yeah, over to you, Sole. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavinia. And yes, thank you for highlighting that very important fact that this is by no means the whole universe of challenges, but rather the territory that we're starting off with. And of course, looking forward to hearing from you today, what other challenges or what are the challenges that you are facing, and how do you see innovation or somehow the process of helping thinking differently about these challenges helpful? How can that help in bringing other solutions or changing the course of where we are at today? Yeah, very briefly, because I would like to open the floor to the questions, to the participants that joined the sessions, and then to the rest of the people that joined the session today. How does the process look like? So we have 3 phases. Day 1 is about framing and analyzing. So going into deeply understanding what the challenge is about. And for the purposes of this workshop, for all of those who decide to join the 3-day session, we are going to give you the chance to vote out of those 13 challenges, which ones are the ones that you would like to prioritize. And then we are going to work on the top 3 challenges during the 3-day problem-solving workshop. So you will have the chance to choose and shape which of these challenges are more relevant. And the first day, as I said, it starts with framing and analyzing, obviously building a little closer relationship between the groups, but also presenting the challenges, looking at them more deeply, and how the inspirational conversations and speakers can help steer the analysis of the challenges. The second day is about understanding the target group. So who's the target audience that the potential solutions might try to focus on and address, and brainstorming. So opening up that out-of-the-box thinking, defining, brainstorming different ideas. And I think this is the most powerful moment in a way, because it's creating that space where everything and anything could be possible. And then obviously on day 3, we go into choosing which ideas or which idea we want to develop further and share it with the rest of the groups. These are some ideas that came as a result of the workshop, the previous workshop that we ran. And this is a summary of those ideas. So, for example, one of the teams shaped the idea of something called Radio Empower. So farmers radio with AI, artificial intelligence, chat, GPT technology. So combining radio, which is a very sort of traditional way of communicating, with a very new and innovative way of capturing information and data like AI. And this was for farmers and indigenous communities to foster trust and participation of farmers and indigenous communities in the co-creation of extension services. So basically, the idea was to use the power of radio broadcasting, which is widely used, particularly in this community that we were looking at, and this region, which is the region of Benue in Nigeria, as a means to democratizing the production of knowledge, incorporate AI to capture that knowledge and transforming it into an AI troubleshooting and capacity building tool for farmer extension services provision. So how does this work? Farmers radio for different stakeholders to broadcast with integrated AI that captures the broadcast. So basically a community of farmers or indigenous community would broadcast and share something that they've learned or an experience. And this would be captured by AI to produce knowledge that could be shared further to other communities across the region and the country. So what is needed to implement and how could you start small? So as you can see, you know, the idea is to think about different ways of approaching problems, but also looking at how those could be implemented. Another idea that came up was around planning, financing, and establishing coordination platforms for extension services. And this was focused on Uganda. And so we looked again at Uganda smallholder farmers that need extension support from both public and private sector. But those that kind of support is not coordinated and fragmented. So there's a need to develop a coordination mechanism to plan, finance, and integrate those services. So this particular team developed a plan and an idea on how to bring together stakeholders to develop a common strategic plan and a shared vision of what is needed and how it can be provided. And so as you can see, there are different angles and challenges that were addressed during this workshop. Before going into the details of what it means to participate and dates and so on, I would like to pass on the floor to, as I mentioned, Laurence, who was part of the first edition of the program. And yes, please, Laurence, if you want to share your experience and how this has helped you or not in your work, I think that would be fantastic. And for the rest of the audience, please feel free to type on the chat any questions that you might have to Laurence or to us in terms of, you know, what we've shared so far. Over to you. Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much, Sole. And of course, I also want to recognize Uchi Dominic is also in the project that you shared for Nigeria was done for them. And of course, the the participation in these activities, of course, we had a whole different shape of online activity where everyone was given an opportunity to participate. And then number two, looking at the different ideals separately helped us to think broader, because you see, because the mindsets of program development are built on the fact that we sit in the offices, think for our participants, and then run the show ourselves. So we have, as our team, I was able to take back the knowledge, and then we are thinking about having broader stakeholders on the programming that we do, because we are not the only ones trying to solve this, where we look at engagement of government, engagement of other development partners, things we did not think about before, but on programs that we develop, we ensure that they are involved, and we look at what they contribute that can help us to ensure that we support everyone. And of course, issues, of course, like of extension workers or their experiences or their challenges is not a single fit issue. Different strategies, different programs, different organizations have to come together to make this possible. So that's what I would like to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence, for sharing your insights and your experience. I love how you highlight the participative and inclusive nature of this kind of workshops, which I actually think we haven't really touched upon that much. But indeed, the idea of offering this as a methodology that you can replicate is exactly that, to offer a framework that you can use that allows and invites for broader participation and inclusivity of multiple stakeholders in this kind of co-creative processes. So thank you very much. Uchi, are you able to share or speak? I'm not sure if you're connected still. Yes, I can see you're there, but hello.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Can you see me?
Yes, we can. We can. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for recognition. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, every participant. I'm Dominic from Nigeria. We had the idea on this particular workshop before, and it's really very important that now the course of artificial intelligence has been taken into recognition, especially in Nigeria and in the rural areas, where some of these technologies, we find it very difficult for extension workers to go and practice it on the field and the ground. And from this perspective, the use of radio, the use of telephones now had helped a lot, and it has really impacted positively to the lives of farmers, because if they employ the use of this technology like digital climate smart agriculture, some of them they inbuilt. If you can practice it without network, and that is what we have been advising and farmers to embark on. And the little farmers that have close contact with these technologies, we encourage them to spread it, to form cooperatives, and then brainstorm together with other farmers so that the technology we spread wide and wide. This is coming because the shortage of extension agents to farmers had been a kind of problematic issue in rural areas, and especially in Nigeria and Africa. And the use of this technology are really very important. And also, the stakeholders' participation is really very much encouraging when introducing this technology, because when you use the opinion leaders, you use the stakeholders, the farmers, as the culture context of Africa, maybe we believe that there must be a leader, there must be the household of the family, that we give instruction and from
Hello? Oh, I think we lost you for a minute. Dominic.
other people.
Yeah, there you are.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry,
Thank
I
you.
think we just lost you for a minute, but thank you very much for sharing your insights as a participant. Fabian, from your side, anything you would like to share before we pass it on to the audience in terms of questions and reflections? But it would be great to hear from you as a designer, but also as the facilitator of the first workshops. What could you share with the rest of the group that hasn't participated yet?
Yeah, maybe I think if we are looking at developing methodologies or running these workshops, like you said, we're often focusing on outcomes. But I think what we underestimate if we are doing such activities like the problem-solving workshop is the process and also the space to learn when we are doing, while doing, basically. So I think there were a lot of interesting insights and also learnings from participants during the process. So, for example, we tried to bring in an exercise about a systemic perspective, so looking at the challenge more with a broader view, so zooming out and having a look at the system and thinking about what are the root causes for this challenge, for example. So we have a bigger perspective, but then we are also going into more details and looking at the target group, for example. So what is the needs of the target group? And I think especially with this kind of having such a framework and workshop formats to step out of the normal thinking in our day-to-day life, I think that's kind of also a big value these kind of approaches are bringing. Besides the outcomes, it's really about learning while participating in such things. So I think that's for me also again always a big learning in my work when designing kind of these workshops.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Fabian. And actually, just to complement what you were saying, each group is also hosted by a coach that has that also perspective or thinking around an experience on farmer extension services and can also bridge between technical knowledge and this framework methodology, so that, in a way, teams are shepherded through the process. And I think that's quite reassuring as well, so that it's not that you're left to yourselves to figure out how to do it, but actually you have a coach that walks you through the methodology and helps you navigate the different steps. So it would be great to hear at this point if you have any questions about what's been shared in terms of the problem-solving workshop. Please raise your hand, open your mic, or feel free to write the question on the chat. And also, if you want to cover some of the challenges that you might be facing for those of you who are working more closely on farmer extension services and farmer support, and how can problem solving or innovative thinking help you? And also, where do you see the limitations of it? It's interesting to hear both sides of the spectrum. So Carlota or maybe if you can help me type these questions on the chat, that would be fantastic. Thank you. And yes, we have one person raising their hand. So Marlon, thank you. Over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah,
yes,
welcome.
Thank you so much. I just have one question. It's based on experience. I've done a little bit of everything many years ago, providing direct extension services to farmers outside protected areas, and today doing economic analysis of the impact of different models of sustainable agriculture. So my question here is, and forgive me if I have missed something, and I am new to this thematic workshop, is that when you provide extension services, I keep finding a gap, and that is that you need to connect the extension services that we provide with a sustainable business model. So that means that whatever we provide extension services on, let's say for shifting from unsustainable conventional agricultural systems to sustainable agricultural systems, then that new model that we provide should be profitable for the small farmer, particularly for the small farmer, which is the one that we really need to help to improve their livelihoods. So there's a clear disconnection. I haven't seen it yet, a connection that actually takes into account that the extension services have to orbit around an agricultural business model that is profitable. We continue to promote, in many cases, sustainable models, but we actually neglect to ensure that those businesses are profitable. In recent analysis that we have done in the livestock sector, in the coffee sector, in the cocoa sector, even palm oil sector, indicates that in order to make a transition from the business as usual scenario to a more sustainable agricultural practice, you actually the small farmer in particular will be experiencing a several-year gap in income or decrease in income until a more sustainable model actually takes shape and start producing what is expected to produce. So that's my comment, and I'd love to hear how the group is thinking about connecting extension services and ensuring that we are supporting a sustainable business model for small farmers that want to make this transition to better agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marlon, for your incredibly valuable insight and experience sharing. And I can share a bit about what's come up in the previous workshops around this. But before doing that, I would love to open the floor for maybe anyone else in this group that would like to share their thoughts and their experience on what you've raised. Anyone would like to share anything or any reflections?
Can I attempt to talk to Marlon? Of course, you see, like you said, especially in cases of Uganda, in product presets like coffee, tea, and we look at a bit of in the milk sector, especially in our Western region, where some producers or exporters have put a lot of effort in the production processes because they want to sustain quality. You find that the effort, because you do realize that as a challenge to most of the farmers that we have, it's been hard for them to include the cost of extension work on their own. So that's why there is a high dependence on either organizational supported extension workers or on government supported extension workers. But where models of business, like for example, where they have been set up in groups, where they are being supported, and through the support that they get, they kind of offset the costs of extension work done in coffee, done in tea, and a bit of in the dairy sector, then there it has worked. But of course, it needs a little bit of thinking, and some of these models cannot exist if there is no direct business or an off-taker to these farmers.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. And yes, Sarah, I can see you've raised your hand. Would you like to share your thoughts or views on? Yes.
Hi, yes. On that last point, just to add to the two previous points, I think we also need to bear in mind that it's not just one business model. Within our farming community, we've got multiple subgroups of farmers, each one needing a different business model, a different extension support, different extension services. So we talk about business models quite often as if there's one that's going to fit all, which of course is not the case. IITA has done a lot of research in Uganda in the coffee sector, looking at different farmer typologies within coffee growing communities, and trying to then tailor support for good coffee management to those subgroups. And it becomes quite complex because there is such variation amongst the farming communities.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Indeed, there is something about there's no one size fits all, as Marlon is also pointing out on the chat. Thank you for that contribution. And yes, Kevin, if I'm pronouncing your name properly, please go ahead.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining this very fascinating conversation.
Thank you very much. I'm Kevin from Kenya. So we did a survey. We were working in the East African countries on the dairy value chain. So we worked in 6 countries, actually: Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda. So we were mapping the different extension models that we have in these 6 countries and trying to see how we can optimize the extension models that we have. And after doing the mapping, we came up with 6 extension models, excluding the public, which is the obvious one. So we found that there are different models of extension service provision in the dairy value chain. So we had cooperatives, we had tech companies coming with the digital platforms, we had input suppliers, and et cetera, et cetera. So this output gave us a lot of information, which we had to validate with the stakeholders during stakeholder validation meetings. And during these validation meetings, we came to find that some of the weaknesses that are happening in the service provision is because these service providers are working in silos. They are not collaborating enough. And because of that, it was necessary, and actually this came from them. They said that it is necessary to create like a platform where all the service providers will be incorporated so that they can know who to collaborate with, because that currently does not exist. And as we're talking about the issue of a business model, the business model, it's not a one-size-fits-all as we have already established, because different service providers, they have different types of revenue generation. For instance, you can take cooperatives, for instance, they have these embedded service models where farmers are charged. There's a service fee that is charged on the deliveries that they make to the cooperative society. And when you come to the consultancies, they charge a service fee that is pegged on the extent of service that is provided to the farmer. So when you compare these two and you want to put like one business model to be optimized for both scenarios, then it will not work. So this is something that they pointed out, and it's necessary that the participatory approach that you are proposing can help us to bring this out much more clearly and to help the participants to understand some of their weaknesses and the strong points where they can collaborate with other service providers in the value chain to strengthen the service provision for sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And actually, I think you are all raising fantastic points. And what you've just said, Kevin, is spot on. As we've designed and worked through the implementation of these workshops, we see these spaces as the opportunity for these fundamental barriers and challenges to come up, to surface. And this is actually the space to break those silos that are present still in how farmer extension services are designed, developed, offered. We've in our past workshop, we had a very avid conversation around how this idea of profitability that Marlon was sharing was very relevant, but also this idea of how farmer extension services are many times offered on a crop basis. And so, you know, one same farmer may get someone coming in and offering a particular insight or service or product to enhance their cocoa production, but at the same time, this farmer is not only producing cocoa, is also producing coffee. And so next week, they receive someone else coming in and offering something that's focused on coffee, and there's no ecosystem perspective. And the other thing also that was raised is how farmer support is not just about the support within the farm, but it's also around the community within the farmer. So, you know, the livelihood of the farmer, of the family, and of the community surrounding it, access to health, access to education for the families that are part of that network, and so on. So the idea of this problem-solving workshops is actually to create a space where we can take a step back and look at all of this broader systems, holistic perspective, and bring those down into solutions that we can apply to concrete examples. This is how we see and we envision this space. There are no answers to the challenges that you've raised, but rather the invitation is for you to join us so that you can raise those challenges within the practitioners that are doing the work on the ground, so that these challenges are surfaced and potentially addressed in the way that we think the solutions, and also to make it participative, because ultimately these siloed approaches come from the basis of many stakeholders, particularly farmers, not being included in the way that farmer extension services are thought of, designed, conceived, and therefore, obviously, we miss out on a lot of very relevant inputs to consider. I can see that there are some active questions, and Claudio, thanks for your question on private farmer support programs participating. That would be fantastic, and definitely we would welcome different kinds of audiences coming together. The more, the merrier, and also the diversity makes up for the best mix. I'm conscious of time, and we have 1 minute to go. So thank you for your time today. Please feel free to connect with us if you have any further questions. But also, just quickly, we will share this 1-page handout with you on what it means to participate in this workshop, when the sessions are going to take place, how to engage, the grouping. We will send that on a handout. And we will also send a quick poll. If you can fill it out now, that would be fantastic. It just takes 2 minutes. We are collecting your basically names and emails for those of you who want to be kept in the loop of the upcoming sessions, the problem-solving workshops. And for you to express interest in joining so that we can connect with you individually. Yes, Kevin, we will share the presentation, and we would love to hear more about the work that you are doing. So we will check in with you personally as well. And yes, thank you very much. If you have anything else to share or say, please feel free to stay a couple of more minutes. The UNDP FACS team, or some of us, will stay here online if you wish to continue the conversation. Thank you very much, everyone. And we're here, and we look forward to seeing you on our upcoming workshop in October. Thank you so much.